Hi, I'm Kelly Kramer.
And I'm Scott Sipker. Welcome to Yellow Banks Park.
And our latest edition of Iowa Outdoors. Showcase a water trail that's intertwined with a series of historic landmarks.
Coming up on this episode of Iowa Outdoors, we'll ski down some freshly groomed trails, plant some trees in the middle of the Mississippi, relive a conservation victory in central Iowa, and explore another trail in a minute.
We'll have all that and more.
So sit tight, Iowa Outdoors is about to begin.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Alliant Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors Magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.
Winters in Iowa can be unpredictable. Some shower us with feet of snow, and others pass with only a few flurries.
Today, we'll ride out to the center of a Mississippi restoration project, as well as visit central Iowa and one of the biggest conservation victories in the state.
But first, grab your skis. It's time to glide.
Iowa has many wonderful hills, but nothing that comes close to a mountain. So if you're a skier, the best avenue to revel in winter is cross-country or Nordic skiing.
Northern Iowa has no problem being blanketed in snow each winter, but in central and southern Iowa, each winter is a coin flip. However, if the timing and conditions are right, the entire state can hit the trails and ski to their heart's content.
Cross-country skiing began as a method for transportation in Scandinavia nearly 5,000 years ago, but has since evolved into a recreational activity and a competitive sport that's practiced across the world.
The beauty of Nordic skiing is that you can literally do it anywhere. You can go out your back door and ski literally anywhere. And I think once you have equipment, which, there is some cost involved to buying equipment, but once you have that, you don't have to buy lift tickets. You don't have to travel. I mean, it's right here. And I think it, in the upper Midwest, we tend to disappear into our houses this time of year. And what Polk County has done here is created an opportunity for people to get outside and move this time of year, which I think is increasingly important.
With the help of the Des Moines Nordic Club, Polk County Conservation recently purchased new grooming equipment that creates smooth, densely packed trails that make gliding through the snow easier.
Right now, we have basically just been compacting the snow and trying to get all the air out of the snow so we have a nice firm surface for skiers to ski on. And what this device does is the sides of it capture the snow. We have a big rubber mat on the back that flattens it out then. It's not a light groomer by any means. It's several hundred pounds, so a lot of weight is there. We can add more if we need it. And then on the very tail end of that skirt, it has a hard plastic ridged device on it that after we make a pass, then we're left with what is often referred to as corduroy in the snow, which is a great surface for skiing.
As one of several areas in Polk County that provide groomed trails, Jester Park's proximity to the capital city and a variety of terrains makes it a popular location for Central Iowans.
Jester Park does have a lot of wooded areas and it holds snow better, so I think it's going to be skiable longer. After a big snowfall like we've just had, I mean, that's the goal for sure, is to have a spot where people can come for weeks after a snowfall. And there's just tons of opportunity out here. This park is enormous, and the terrain is really perfect for Nordic skiing. It's amazing how it comes together when the snow falls. Everyone kind of goes their separate ways, and then when the snow falls, you realize just how many people are interested or are involved. And I don't know the exact number of skiers in the Des Moines area, but I mean, just today people I've met through skiing that I've seen out here just today, from Ames, from Des Moines, from south of Des Moines. I mean, they come from all over.
It's amazing out here. It's so quiet because the snow deadens everything. It's so pretty. You see wildlife, you see tracks everywhere. I don't know, it's magical.
The benefits of the sport are plentiful. Not only does cross-country skiing give you an excellent full-body workout, but it provides a great opportunity to de-stress in the great outdoors.
Cross-country skiing, it's long been known that this is one of the best forms of exercise you can get. It's a complete body workout. You will huff and puff, and you will discover you have muscles that you didn't know you even had after you go out skiing that first time or two. The other big benefit to cross-country skiing is you can get out into a natural setting like this and enjoy the quiet of nature in the wintertime. It's just so quiet and peaceful, you can just kind of get lost in your own mind.
It's a sport that you can take at your speed, and I think that's what makes it so fun and enjoyable. It doesn't really matter if you skate ski, if you classic ski. There are a lot of different ways to get out here and enjoy this. And you might want to pick your terrain carefully depending on your skills. You might not want to pick something that twists and turns downhill through the woods if you haven't been on skis much. But with what Scott and the Polk County have done here, there's a huge variety of terrain, and I think everyone can find something to ski safely and enjoy it.
We do have skis for rent out here at Jester Park. You get a package of skis, boots, and poles, which is basically everything you need to get out and ski. And you can rent it by the day, or you can rent it for as many days as you like. And it's a great opportunity, if you don't have the equipment, to try it out before you make the investment. So if you're a beginner just coming out to the park, you want to get out into a natural area to ski, look for some of the flatter areas. You want to get comfortable. We have a lot of hilly terrain out here at Jester Park. So get a map from the park office before you come out. Talk to one of the naturalists and find out exactly where the good beginner trails are. We don't have a lot of signage out here identifying some of the trails, but you can go from very beginner level skiing out here to about as advanced as you want.
The locks and dams of the Mississippi have allowed commercial industry to tame the mighty river and transport goods up and down its waters. But those feats of engineering don't come without a cost.
North of every dam is a massive river pool where silt builds up and native habitats wash away. Thankfully, multiple organizations have banded together to restore these ecosystems in hopes of guaranteeing a strong future for native wildlife. It's impossible to fathom the enormity of the Mississippi River. At more than 2,300 miles long and collecting water from 24 different states, it is by far the largest watershed in the United States. From its headwaters in Minnesota to the Louisiana Delta, the river hosts 29 dams with 11 connected to Iowa's banks. For several millennia, undisturbed fish and wildlife called the Mississippi River home. But come the 1930s, when the dams were installed, that all changed, almost immediately impacting the native habitat.
So when the locking dams were put in place and obviously the water levels rose, loss of habitat from the shallow backwater slough areas was lost, and then also, as water was staying up on the trees, you get a lot of tree kill as well.
But beyond water level rise, the Depression-era lock and dam construction necessitated cutting out a great deal of timber to secure the structures. Between the two events, much of the remaining trees were silver maple, a single dominant species with a lifespan of roughly 80 years. Today, with the tree population starting to age out, action was required to heal the ecosystem and ensure wildlife could sustain along the river.
So we are in Pool 9 of the Upper Mississippi River, and we're actually at the project that was completed called Harper Slough Habitat Rehabilitation Enhancement Program. And so this project was started about 5 years ago, and it was completed construction-wise last year. And today we're out here kind of tidying up things and doing some tree plantings to help make sure that the islands can hold. It gives some links to hold the soil together and the trees to jumpstart.
Trees may not be the first thing that comes to mind when considering waterway rehabilitation, but these mid-channel islands are an important feature to the overall Mississippi ecosystem. Constructing new islands and restoring river woodlands is vital to all who depend on the river.
You know, people think of rivers as water, which is what they are. And it's easy to think about the fish in the river, but not to think about what are the drivers of those fish habitats and that ecosystem that's there. So historically there was a lot more forest on the Mississippi River, and what it contributes to the overall ecosystem health are things like slowing water when the river is flooding, and so that helps to capture sediment and helps to clarify the water. It provides dead wood that actually moves into the river, and dead wood is a really important component of fish habitat. It helps to prevent erosion, and it's really important for the ecosystem as a whole.
The purpose of the program and what we're trying to do is somewhat recreate that habitat that was prevalent before the locking dams were put in place. And it creates phenomenal wildlife habitat. I mean, the waterfowl response this past fall and even this spring creates a lot of good subaquatic habitat, and also does helps with water quality and clarity, which promotes the subaquatic vegetation. So.
With the indigenous silver maples dying off, diversifying the tree populations was a top priority. But an additional goal was to plant species that could sustain themselves while strengthening an island.
These swamp white oaks that we're planting here have a lifespan of 250 years potentially. Produces acorns that a lot of wildlife depend on. Wood ducks are actually a species that eat acorns, if you can believe it, and there are a lot of wood ducks on the river. It also is really interesting because there are certain bird species, the cerulean warbler, which is a species of concern for throughout the eastern United States, seems to cue in on oak trees specifically, and so where we have more oak, then we tend to have more of those warblers. So that's why we're doing oak. And there was actually just recently a study done that showed that hackberry as well is preferentially used by birds migrating up the Mississippi River floodplain. And so with the trees, certainly the goal is not just that these trees are going to survive, but that they're going to grow up into mature canopy trees, start producing seed, regenerating on their own. Our hope is that we'll get seeding of other forest species, and we'll have bird habitat and wildlife habitat, and that this island will hold and maybe even build itself over time.
To pull off this multi-million-dollar rehabilitation project, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers supplied the funding, while the Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa DNR supplied their expertise, as well as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who will be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the island. As for who's planting the trees, it's simply local volunteers who have a stake in the future and the beauty of the Mississippi.
People like to get out and get their hands dirty and be a part of nature, and you know, I think that's who we are as human beings. But I think that the river holds a special place for a lot of people. I mean, anyone who's grown up along the river, there's no way that it's not a part of your life. And I think a lot of people really value the recreational opportunities that the river provides, the wildlife habitat that it provides, just the feel of being on the river. And I mean, I guess my sense would be that they just want to bring something to contribute to the river and to make sure that the system's behaving as well as it possibly can. Hopefully you weren't planning on staying completely clean today, because
Never.
you won't.
You know, the Endangered Species Act was created because, you know, we recognized back in the 70s that, you know, we were doing a lot of changes on the landscape that were causing certain things that people enjoyed and liked to decline and basically go extinct. And so, as Aldo Leopold once said, being stewards of the land is what we all should be part of.
With the restored island's first inhabitant, a nesting bald eagle already taking up residence, there is visible hope that all of the work that's gone into the habitat rehabilitation program is bound for success.
50 years from now, if we had the crystal ball, if all these trees were planted today all succeeded and grown and were, mature 50-year-old oak trees and hackberry trees, Birds would benefit from it, the neotropical migrants, the bald eagles, wildlife, deer would benefit from it, wetland species alone. So it's the whole ecology approach is being taken into account when these projects are created.
Activism sometimes gets a bad rap, but special interest groups work day and night to turn the tide of public policy in order to save our natural resources.
In central Iowa, there's one modern activist push we can all get behind. When the need to expand a highway nearly obliterated an irreplaceable marsh, conservationists got organized and saved the unique ecosystem for generations to experience.
So you guys are not the first, you guys will definitely not be the last. But every time we come out here, it will change your life. And I'm not kidding. Some of you guys will change your career path because of what you're about to experience. Some of you won't, but none of you will forget this experience today. So we don't want to waste our time by talking about whatever it is you think is more important. Believe me, this is something you will treasure for a long time. So we want to get in the marsh as quickly as possible. But before we do that, I want to explain why you guys are here and what we're doing here. This is an ecological museum, which means what you're about to experience took Mother Nature in an ice age to form. This has been here for about 14,000 years.
As good a time as these students are having, they have no idea how lucky they are. Engledinger Marsh has an unmatched biological and ecological reputation in the state of Iowa. But beyond that, this field trip almost never happened, as the marsh was nearly wiped away in the name of convenience.
Well, I think in the mid-90s when the DOT came to the Polk County Conservation Board and said, you own this now. And we said, yes, we do. And they said, well, we're going to put a road through it. And we said, well, really, can we talk about this? Because we think this has great value. And they said, that's true, but we've got a road already in here, which is a major point. I mean, deciding where to site a road because of ecological context is difficult. Deciding to move a road from an area because of ecological content is really even more difficult. It's very expensive, very time consuming, and people don't want to do it unless it's absolutely necessary. So I think what it came to be is that we found out it really was a unique area. I was grateful to see that people had recognized its value.
Of course, the work to get the DOT to move Highway 65 was not that easy.
Some coots, lots of coots.
Having retired in early 2018, Lauren Lown worked for Polk County Conservation for 27 years, and the struggle to keep Engledinger from turning into a ditch on the side of a 4-lane highway took up a good chunk of his tenure with the organization.
There was a lot of controversy about it. Some people thought we should plow through, just go ahead and put the road in, and animals and birds will survive. Others said, no, you must take it around. It was several years in the discussion before it was finally decided. Polk County Conservation Board asked that we look at the site so we knew what was at stake. I think I used the expression, look at the book before we burn it first. And a firm out of Ames with the principal investigator was a former state ecologist. We asked that they do it. And they took their time and did it right, did plant surveys, animal surveys, small mammals, birds, and found out that Engledinger Marsh had a remarkably diverse flora and fauna. During the course of that, found a small, relatively insignificant looking insect, a mulberry-winged skipper, which was a state special concern or threatened species. And that sort of was the final nail in saying, okay, we've got to take this road someplace else.
On top of the incredible ecological discoveries, the Conservation Board also uncovered a federal statute that, when tied to the study, forced the DOT's decision.
When you put a road through a park or preserve and you're using federal funds, there's a section of Federal Highway Code called 4F, which means that if there is any practicable way to avoid that land, you should do it. And that was a practicable way. Not the cheapest, but a practical way to do it. And so that became the route that went around Engledinger Marsh.
Looking at a map of central Iowa, there is a noticeable bump in Highway 65. That bump saved Engledinger for countless birds, animals, and plant species. but it also guarantees future generations of students and outdoors enthusiasts will be able to discover the bounty of the marsh.
It's moving! Oh my God! We got it! We got it! Oh my God!
Just grab that stuff.
If you've never touched a snake, please touch its tail.
It's a living, breathing classroom. Words can't explain it. That's why we bring them out here. You know, if words can explain it, you can read it in a textbook. And that's not how students or anybody, adults included, should learn about wetlands. The best way to learn about a wetland is to come to a wetland, get in it, experience it, feel it, smell it, touch it, capture the animals, experience the plants that call us home. There's no other way you can possibly experience that.
Oh my God! I just got a big crawfish.
The best part of learning about wetlands like Engledinger firsthand is that the experience it offers changes with the seasons, and many times week to week.
It's just endless, and depending on what time of year you're here depends on what type of things you're going to interact with. You know, if you're here early, you're going to catch a lot more of the smaller tadpoles. If you're here in the middle of summer, you're going to start seeing the developing salamanders, and you're going to start seeing some of the larger scavenger beetles and diving beetles and some of those things that take a little bit longer to develop. If you come here this fall, you might catch some full-grown salamanders. So every time you come here, it kind of opens up a new page of discovery.
With Engeldinger's future ensured, Lauren says it is important to know the Iowa Department of Transportation was not the villain in the fight to save the marsh, but a partner. Both organizations followed the law, worked hard, and in the end, worked together to save an irreplaceable piece of the state, something that hasn't always been the case.
I think we're lucky in the state of Iowa that we have what we have left. It's not necessary to shoot the last buffalo. I mean, we need these places so our children and grandchildren actually have an understanding of what native Iowa was like. Rich, diverse, beautiful landscape. Those of us who have worked in conservation for years realize that oftentimes the hardest thing to take is sometimes people just don't care. In this case, a great many people cared. There was a good reason to preserve it. I'm very grateful it's still here.
It's time for IPTV's Trail in a Minute, where we show you a first-person view of a different Iowa hiking, biking, or water trail each episode. It's an opportunity to relive a previous outdoor experience or plan a future adventure. And it's a pretty cool way to view the Iowa outdoors. Take a look. Winter in March may seem like a less than ideal time to go for a hike. But at the Hartman Reserve Nature Center, you couldn't pick a more perfect window to visit. First off, there are plenty of paths to take and areas to explore, including the state's first nature preserve and a prairie. But winter at Hartman means one thing: syrup. More specifically, visitor-aided tree sap collecting, followed by maple syrup production. That's right, sap taps are scattered all over the Hartman Reserve grounds, right along the main trails, and visitors of all ages and abilities are welcome to help with the harvest. Of course, if you'd rather go for an extended hike, that is fine as well, with miles of trails leading to and from the center. Or if you'd rather do some birding, there are decks on the reserve grounds built specifically for visitors to look and listen for distinctive area birds. The Hartman Reserve Nature Center. While the main trail loop will take you less than a mile to cover, the treasures surrounding it are too good to pass up. So mark your calendar now for your next winter hike. That wraps up this episode of Iowa Outdoors. We encourage you to get outside and enjoy Iowa's parks and recreational opportunities. If you're planning any outdoors travel, check out our extensive video archive of adventures at iptv.org/Iowa Outdoors.
While our episodes will continue to bring you outdoor adventures over the Iowa airwaves, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for extended features and extra content. And feel free to tag Iowa Outdoors in your online posts. Who knows, you might make it onto the show. For now, we'll leave you with more images of Iowa's outdoor environments.
Funding for Iowa Outdoors is provided by the Claude P. Small, Catherine Small Cousins, and William Carl Cousins Fund at the Lincoln Way Community Foundation in Clinton County to support nature programming on Iowa Public Television.
And by the Relive Energy Foundation. Many of Iowa's natural wonders you'll find on Iowa Public Television can be found in Iowa Outdoors magazine, the Iowa DNR's premier resource for conservation, education, and recreation activities. Subscription information can be found online at iowadnr.gov.